So this is Tim Foley with ThinkStack. I'm here today with Cal Bowman, our VP of Strategy and Innovation, for a ThinkChat around design thinking and journey mapping. Morning, Cal.
A ThinkStack, ThinkChat.
That's it, man. Try and say that 5 times after your morning coffee.
I think you got it nailed, man. Let's do it.
And it gets even weirder because this is a how we and how you series, which is how we explain how we do something and then give people some ideas about how to get started. So I know that you joined ThinkStack, Cal. One of the main reasons was because of our foundational philosophy of using design thinking and journey mapping to solve business problems. Talk to us a little bit about how those elements connect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the most exciting parts of ThinkStack, I think. Absolutely a core reason why I joined was those core values we have, and one of them being the human-centered design, right? So essentially what that means is we look at everything we do, every lens that we look through the lens of the end user, the client, the member, whoever is experiencing a service or a process. That's kind of the lens we look through, and I love it because we can use interactive sessions like journey mapping to really highlight some of the friction and inadequacies of those processes. For example, a remote employee connecting to the network, or a customer or a member opening a loan. The goal in creating these journey maps is really to create the shared vision, and to start thinking in terms of users and journeys, not necessarily in terms of specs and features. So we always have multiple people involved. People think that their process, their journeys, whether it's opening a new loan or, connecting into a remote workstation, they'll say, the CEO will say, oh, that's not really a problem. It's 5 easy steps. They come into the branch, right? They come into the branch and they open something up, they stand in line, and when you say we're going to do a journey mapping session with, 5 or 7 of their team members, you take a step back and you really step through that process very deliberately. And, kind of at the end, you go from this thing that the CEO thought was like 5 steps, right? And all of a sudden it's 50 different activities. And the CEO is like, wow, like I didn't know it was this broken, or I didn't know it was cumbersome. So it's always really exciting to kind of see that reaction and to get that kind of result from these journey mapping sessions.
Yeah, and I've seen you do them, and how it really breeds that empathy around the room, because suddenly you understand, like, oh, hey, I didn't know that you had the same challenge as me, or I always thought this was on you, but actually it's a collective problem.
Did you hear that eureka moment? Because they always have it. Like there's a different eureka moment for every person sitting around that journey mapping experience, and everybody has that, oh, or oh my gosh, and that's so
I love it, man. Now, is that a journey map on your wall behind you at home?
Yeah. Well, COVID-19 has required us to really take a different approach, and that even means with my kids being home too. So we started kind of mapping the educational experience and their journey of how they learn every day. It's been actually pretty cool trying to transfer journey mapping for a credit union, or a large bank, or a construction company, and now journey mapping my kids' educational journey. And they've dug it too. We've got some pretty cool insight onto it.
That's really fun. And then I know that, obviously we've spent a lot of time building this out virtually as well to have a great virtual experience. And we've been working on some internally, especially with the remote work stuff. So why don't you pull it up and let's take a look?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'd love to. We've built this terrific tool called Collide, right? And Collide really allows us to take journey mapping. Can you see my journey mapping screen here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. So we take journey mapping from the wall, or as I like to do oftentimes, with a dry erase marker and a window, and we've really brought it over and been able to digitize it so that not only for this remote experience, but also to bring back and say, all right, we've journey mapped it here. Let me take it off the wall. Let me digitize it, and let me share it across my entire workforce, right? Because this is really a shared vision. And so what journey mapping allows us to do, as we talked about earlier, is go step by step based on what the activity is, and then start identifying, here's the experience of the user, right? Here are the people involved in this activity. Is
that interactive there? So can you change that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just started journey mapping what the remote work experience is, and I came up with 5 or 6 different steps in this, everything from setting up your work area. And so I can go in here and I can change the name to, you know, remote setup.
That's awesome.
Right. And so it changes that. And then I can say, all right, you know what? You got the mandate to work from home. Now what? That's your first step. Like your boss says, everybody's going to be working at home for 2 weeks. And so then we'll start stepping actually through what that experience is. What are the activities? You got to procure a workstation, right? So we put in that as an activity. What tech is involved in procuring a workstation? Well, you're going to need the laptop. You're going to need some sort of procurement process. You're going to need, you know, a dedicated workspace at your home, whether it's the dining room table or a home office. So those are the technology. What are the risks involved with that? You know, what security awareness do your employees need to have? What will they need to access? Do they need to access a network that needs to be secure 24/7? So you start identifying the risk inherent to whatever that activity or step is. So, you know, for example, we say, you know, if you look at this one, the access files step here.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing tremendous friction in that place, right? We're getting calls saying, hey, how can we create an environment or an ecosystem for our employees to work from home? And we'll step through that experience with them. We'll say, well, what do you have now? And how are you currently doing it? And we'll get answers like, well, we can do, you know, remote desktop protocol, or, you know, you start hearing these things, you're like, no, you know, let's take a step from that and let's imagine what that experience could be like by throwing all the different ideas or risks or just created opportunities on the table here. And let's imagine what that experience could be like if we did it differently. And that really, those are the 3 biggest things that I look for in any journey map, Tim. I look for what are the risks involved, what are the new ideas that are coming from this conversation, from this journey mapping discussion, and then how do we turn that into an actionable challenge, you know, a challenge to make actual, to take action on it and to turn it into a deliverable. How do we do that? And it's really tremendous to see folks saying it. We did a quick journey map for a virtual meeting where a client said, well, you know what, we use our iPhones and the native apps in there to do FaceTime. I said, well, what if that, you know, you need to talk to 5 or 6 people at once? And so we actually stepped through that experience and we were able to come up with, well, you need webcams, right? You need to have either a mic or a built-in mic. You need to have the platform. What are you using for it? And then we start building these ideas and saying, okay, you know, you need to do a virtual communication. You want to do real-time collaboration, you know, so what are the backbone elements of that, you know, we can help build for you or that you can do on your own to really make that experience stand out and be, you know, as we say, less friction in that experience.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, you know, what I've loved about working through this process with ThinkStack as well is that a lot of journey mapping, you know, starts with the activity and then the experience and the people and looks at that application layer and the marketing aspect really and the user experience. But I love how we dig into the back end. But then, you know, the blessing and the curse is there's the everywhere I go now, I journey map everything. Like if I'm getting on a flight or if I'm at the MBA, you know, so you're just looking for those really broken processes all the time. And I'm sitting there wondering, you know, how bad is this on the back end? So how
I don't go anywhere without dry erase markers and Post-it notes. You know me, right?
I love that.
If there's an experience that somebody's having a pain point that they're really struggling with, I always like to do my best to say, hey, let's map what that experience looks like right now. Let's journey map it and let's find out where we can create less friction. Let's find out, and that's, you know, that's what we do at ThinkStack, right? And it may not always apply to a technology, but you're going to oftentimes find out that the backbone of what you want to build for your ecosystem, it's going to have some pretty significant technology layers to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at the journey mapping for those opportunities.
So if I'm watching this right now and I'm sitting here, I'm at home, I'm a CEO, I'm a CIO, I'm a member experience person, or really any role, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, well, man, I'm worried like maybe my remote experience isn't great, or I have another process that, you know, we're talking a lot about how people are accessing ATMs and, you know, their branches and things like that. I have to do a lot of work with banks and credit unions, that kind of thing. How do I get started, Cal? What do I do?
Well, you just actually did one of the hardest steps right there. You've taken a huge step if you've been able to identify a problem to start with, right? From there, then you start identifying and laying out the steps of the journey. You know, who's involved, what's their experience like? Is it a smile? or is it one of these frowny faces that are really showing the pain points of that experience from that activity perspective? And then the technology behind it and what ideas and opportunities come from it. So, once you've been able to identify, that there are pain points, that's the hard part. From there, give us a call at ThinkStack, right?
Yeah,
We'd love to sit down with you. We'll do a complimentary, problem consult, step through some of those problems, and maybe even do a 1-hour journey map with you. Just give me a call, give ThinkStack a call. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for taking a little bit of time this morning. And look, my remote experience just went sideways to end the call, but this is all very natural and organic and how we're working right now. Absolutely. So I wish you well and enjoy the rest of your day. Cool. And thanks for spending a bit of time with me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. That was fun. Thanks.
Bye.